Hello and welcome back to C Red UK, where quite simply it's Chicago Bulls. This podcast is part of the Fans First Sports Network, so wherever you're listening, rate, review, subscribe, helps us out and ensures you don't miss another episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, and leave some comments down below. Got my fingers in the screen. I'm Matt, and as usual, joined by Neil. How are we doing, Neil?
I'm good, thank you, Matt. Had a grand day. How about you?
Back at work, as you can see by my background. So not that good. But
it's more comfortable surroundings, right?
Yeah, it's more peaceful, shall we say. I guess we'll get straight into it in the latest news. Now, since our last episode, on which we recorded late on Friday with Big Dave, which we both said is probably one of the most fun episodes we've done.
Yeah, it's great.
If you haven't listened, go check it out. And if you have listened, why not listen to it again?
Absolutely.
So not a lot of news. Obviously, the news we brought at the time was the Exhibit 10 deals for two players. And then not a lot's really happened Bulls-wise over the weekend. Because I think a lot of Bulls Nation turned into Bears Nation, didn't they? Ready for the NFL. Yeah. So I'll just go straight into it. Germany, gold medalists in the FIBA World Cup. Yeah, I was rooting for them. So happy with that. And we're going to talk about Team USA a little bit. But before that, obviously it's been announced today that the NBA are doing stricter guidelines on resting players.
Right.
Doesn't really affect Bulls because we never rest anybody. We just go with that 9-10 man roster. But it's to do with resting two stars and resting players for national TV games.
Televised games, yeah.
Yeah. 100k fine for the first incident, 250k for the second, and then $1 million more, which I don't really know what that meant, for every following incident. So Clippers are going to be screwed.
Yeah. Lakers won't be exactly happy about it either.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. I like why the NBA is doing it. But, players and teams aren't stupid. Instead of saying rest, they'll just say back soreness, knee soreness, whatever.
Yeah. Or what they can always do is they can always play them, but only give them like 1 or 2 minutes and then sit them for the rest of the game. That covers themselves too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they'll find ways around it. And I mean, at the end of the day, what's 100k to all these, multi-billionaire owners and stuff like that, unless it's Jerry Reinsdorf.
I was just going to say, it depends on which owner you're speaking to. I mean, if you're going to speak to the Reinsdorfs, they'd probably be like, well, now, hang on a minute now, 100,000 is 100,000.
Hence why Bulls never rest players.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, that just come out today, and we just wanted to touch on that. But now we're going to get into Team USA, because something else that's come out today is LeBron James being LeBron James. Not the word we were using to describe him a minute ago, but that's just for our ears. We don't want to upset people. Yeah, he's come out and he said he wants to basically bring Redeem Team back ready for the Olympics next year. Big Dave on the last episode called it.
He did.
And called players that were going to be listed in Kevin Durant and Steph Curry.
Yep.
Obviously, amongst others. Devin Booker, Dame, Bam Adebayo. And, yeah, it's just typical Team USA in it, really.
See, the thing that I don't get is if they want to go out and dominate like the original Dream Team or Dream Team 2 did, or the original Redeem Team did, the proof is there. I mean, historically, can I not see that if you field a team of absolute top tier players, you are going to be that elite squad that you claim to be, because you'll walk the floor with most teams in the world if you put out those kinds of players. But they seem to do this thing where they put those teams out and then they pull them back again and they start putting out younger guys or guys that they think have got enough to get through, because they start getting a little bit cocky or a little bit arrogant about the other teams that are around the world. But what they don't realize is these teams have got a lot better over the years. There are NBA players in a lot of the teams, and they've been found out again. So it makes sense for them to want to go out there and prove a point. But why not just do this all the time? Okay, you may want to rest some of them and there's fear of injury. I get all that. But to go from one extreme to the other, where you've got a 10 to 15 man squad where they're all the absolute top level players from the NBA, to then playing, younger, inexperienced players or players that might not really have reached that level yet, and nothing in between. Surely they could kind of mix it up a little bit to give themselves a bit more of a shot. But and now they're going to have to go out there and try and blitz everybody around them with the top players they can find. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, they're not bothered about being world champions, are they? Because, as they say, you're only world champions if you win the NBA.
Yeah.
And obviously, Team USA are actually one of the more successful teams in the FIBA World Cup. They've won it 5 times. But they just don't put the same level of, I think, respect on the tournament as they do the Olympics.
They don't.
The Olympics seems to be the way that they redeem themselves. Like LeBron, for example, he hasn't played for Team USA since 2012 when they won gold in London at the Olympics. Since then, Team USA has gone on to win the next 2 Olympics in 16 and 20. Obviously, Zach LaVine on that team. And they won the World Cup in 2014. So, to me, I get why USA are doing what they're doing. They do it all the time. But why is it LeBron that's come out and he's going to be touching 40, possibly in his last couple of years in the league, or about to go into his last year in the league? Why is it him that's coming out saying, I'm going to be the one? I'm going to be the one that gets this team, this super team, this team of Avengers, whatever you want to call it, together. Because he didn't even do it last time. It was Kobe Bryant that come back and did it. So is he just basically saying, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm as good as Michael Jordan, I'm better than Kobe Bryant.
That's exactly what it is. And anyone with half a brain can see that that's what it is with LeBron. He's tried to, well, not discredit Jordan, but tried to compete with Jordan on a point where he can then stand up and say, well, I'm the greatest. Kobe's the next in line. Kobe was, like, as you say, he's the one that came and led the Redeem team to victory. So LeBron wants to be the one that's in that conversation again with Kobe as well as Michael Jordan. And that's what it all comes down to. I mean, I was just reading something just yesterday about LeBron, and somebody wrote the report. I forget who it was. I do apologize to whoever it was that put the article out there. But they were writing about LeBron being the only person that needs to tell everybody that he's the greatest, and that instantly discredits him. And they used the clip that Scottie Pippen put out years ago, where he sits there and goes, the reason why LeBron will never be the greatest is because LeBron has to tell everybody he's the greatest. Michael Jordan never said he was the greatest. He always said that, it was different eras, different players, and always credited the likes of Kareem and Wilt and all the players that were before him. And Kobe was the very same. They had a different mentality. They had a different way of attacking and approaching the game, where in their own mindset, I'm sure they thought they were the greatest, but they never had to verbalize it. They just proved it on the floor. LeBron is the only one that is at that level of skill and talent. No question. We've never questioned that. But unfortunately, he feels like he has this need to have to tell everybody, look at me, I'm the greatest, I'm better than everybody else. And I'm sorry, there's only one American sports star that's ever got away with that in my mind, and that's Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like, obviously, there was a conversation on Twitter we had that was started by Troy posting about Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Paolo Banchero not playing in that third place game because of illness. And a comment that come on it from Maria was about, she said the C word, continuity, as well as a few other things about disrespecting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's true what she's saying. There's no continuity because you go from these dream teams, redeem teams, stuff like that, and then you filter off, and it's like, I'll just throw anybody out there. I can't be bothered. I don't want to play for my country. I'm a world champion because I've won the NBA. Blah blah blah. And then like these younger players come through. Anthony Edwards had a great tournament. Halliburton had a solid tournament. You know what I mean? And then they're going to get pushed aside for players like Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, LeBron, KD.
Right.
And then they're all going to be retired by the time the next World Cup comes around in 2027. So then these younger players, they've got no experience then of playing for Team USA. They don't know what it's like to keep pulling on that jersey. There's no...
Yeah.
They're not playing for what's on the front of that jersey at that point. They're playing to make the name on the back bigger.
Right.
And which is what LeBron's doing, in my opinion, by saying, I want to bring this team forward because of the name on the back, not because I want to represent my country. I haven't represented my country for 12 years by the time it comes around to the 24 Olympics. All of a sudden, because we're doing a bit crap, I'm going to come out and make my name on the back stand out for that name on the front. And, I hope in terms of from a basketball concept, these players do come out because it makes the competition. All right, you guarantee that they're going to probably win, but I hope they do come out and I hope they get beat just to really kick them in the balls. You know what I mean? And just say, look, you're not that guy. You're not that guy. You're not that team. Just retire and go.
Well, I don't disagree with you. It's kind of what I was saying with they need to blend the young and the old so that the young guys coming through get that experience with the guys that have been there before and have the experience from being there previously and bring it all together so that you're bringing the young guys up and through and you're continuing the cycle so that they carry forward winning basketball for Team USA. And I think that by doing it the way that they're doing it, in regards to the younger guys that are out there at the moment, the ones that have just been beaten and didn't even place a medal, they're doing a disservice not only to those young players, but they're doing a disservice to the American people and fans as well, because they're not getting to see the quality product that they're capable of putting out on the floor. And at the same time, they're putting themselves in the firing line because what happens is everybody's ready to shoot down Team USA because everybody knows that on paper they could be the best team, hands down. So everybody wants the underdog to win, right? It's unless it's your team, you go for the underdog 9 times out of 10, and that's just human nature. So what they find people kind of being almost anti-Team USA through no fault of their own, whereas you field that team or caught that team with, let's say 7 new guys and 8 experienced top tier level players. And people start rooting for Team USA, even if they're not from America, because they want to see those guys do well, because these are the guys that they're following from their own teams day in, day out for 82 games in a season.
Yeah, and I think you only have to look at Canada to see, like, basically what you just said. Like, not necessarily an underdog when you look at the roster, but they haven't come out and gone, no, we only got third. We should have been in that gold medal game. They've celebrated the fact that they've just won their first medal at World Cup. And they had some good players on there, obviously SGA, Dylan Brooks dropping 39 points on Team USA in the third place game. If that's not embarrassing, then so yeah, I think they just need to get off their own little pedestal that they're putting themselves on.
Yeah,
just basically go back to basics, and whether it's they have tryouts for the team rather than LeBron coming out saying, I'm going to be on that team. I'm going to have X, Y, and Z with me. I'm going to have this super team. which we've seen super teams don't work in the NBA. So, yeah, all right, he'll work at international level because they will beat Angola and Argentina and whoever else. You know what I mean? But yeah, personally, I hope it don't work for them. If that's the route they're going to take, I'd rather see people have to work to get to represent the country and be proud to represent the country as well.
Right, and that's the bit that really counts, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, drop in the comments, but down below what you think, whether you think LeBron is the word that we're not going to say. Could probably guess the word, but this is
I think there's a few that would fit.
Yeah, it's a child-friendly podcast from now on, so please keep them PG. And there's one other thing over the weekend that I noticed that I just wanted to talk about before we get into the player predictions, and it is, where's Javonte Green? And the reason why it's come out is, I mean, everyone knows I love Javonte. I always have done. And if you go on the Bulls app, the roster is updated with Quentin Jackson and Max Heidegger, whatever his name is, as well as Bittim and Sonogo and all them. And one player who's still on there is Javonte Green. Now, officially, he's a free agent. You know, his contract ran out. He's not signed anywhere else. Looking on his Instagram and all that, he's still in Chicago, or he has been in Chicago through the summer. He was at the Denard Bros Pro Runs, which he took part in last year, but this year he was only there as a spectator. There in Chicago. And yeah, he got that injury and he seems to have gone. But there's no word of where he's gone. You know, so he's not been signed to a new deal, yet he's still listed as being on the roster. Yeah, it just seems to be something that, I don't know, he's, like I say, where is he?
I was hoping you might be able to give me an answer. He's your guy. I thought, if anybody would know, Matt will know.
Well, I mean,
excuse me.
To be honest, I think that injury is worse than what's been made out. You know, he was listed as having the bone bruise, wasn't he? Which we've seen before can take players up to a year to recover from.
Right.
Kendrick Nunn that had that issue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he went down in back end of last year, wasn't it? Sort of Christmas, January time, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yeah.
So he's potentially going to be out until January, I'm guessing. You know, we've seen him come back, we've seen him dancing on the sideline and stuff like that. But the fact that there's not been any videos of him working out through the summer, didn't take part in any of the pro runs, says to me that he's not fit to play. But the fact that he's still in Chicago, have Bull said to him, get yourself back fit, and there's a deal there. Carlik Jones' deal isn't guaranteed until January. I think it's January. He's guaranteed 250k on opening night, and then he's guaranteed 1.9 million in January. Javonte Green was only on 1.7 million last year. Who would you rather have?
Yeah, that's a simple answer from me. I mean, I'd take Javonte Green over someone that's yet to be proven any day of the week.
Yeah, you know, and
especially if he's 2 million cheaper.
Yeah, you'll please the Rhinestones. You know, I mean, I don't know how it works with Javonte's, what he can earn this year, because it goes up, doesn't it, every year, what the vet minimum is per player and per years in the league and stuff like that. But even if you're getting him at 1.9 million, the same as what Carlik's going to be guaranteed, you know, like I say, our Bulls just waiting until, right, we'll pay Carlik 250 grand opening night, have him on the roster until January, waive him. Javonte's now back fit. There you go. You can have Carlik's money. And they wouldn't even have to guarantee him that much, I wouldn't have thought, because it's like a part of a deal, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it works that way. Obviously, I'd rather have Javonte on the roster. Just one of him would do. You don't need all 5 of him.
No, sure. Could we get a discount if we only take one of the 5?
And I think I've seen it going around on Twitter. A lot of Bulls Nation would rather see him. A lot of saying, "Why aren't we waived, Carlik? Why aren't we?" And I said, to me, I just don't think he's fit. I think that's the only reason why he hasn't. Because surely somebody like him would have been signed somewhere else by now as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense, and it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, especially the fact that it fits time-wise and salary-wise. That Javonte could be told, like, you get yourself back and ready, and there'll be a space here for you.
Yeah. I mean, when you're seeing players like Tristan Thompson get a 1-year deal.
Back to Cleveland.
Yeah. Surely there's a place for someone like Javonte in the league. So,
yeah. Cleveland's welcome to TT as well.
Yeah, Bulls legend.
Yeah, right.
If you want somebody who talks a good game and shouts at the bench, anyway. So, on to a player that has re-signed in Chicago, Mr. Ayo Dosunmu. Obviously, we've started our player predictions, player expectations, and Ayo's the next on the list, and hence why I found Javonte was still on the roster. We've spoke about Ayo re-signing. We both think that it's a slight overpay.
Yeah, nothing drastic, but a slight overpay.
Yeah, for what he was last year, anyway.
Yes.
That's not to say that 2 years down the line, it's not a hell of a deal.
Absolutely.
Which, 2 years down the line, we could be saying them exact words. Well, we've got Ayo Dosunmu on $7 million a year. And I think that's basically, it is a prove it deal.
It is.
Prove that you're worth it. We're not bothered about you sitting on the bench at $7 million. But if you can come back and be the starter, be year one Ayo and better for $7 million, then bargain.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, you see all the stuff on the socials, what he's doing in the community and stuff like that as well. Obviously, his community in Chicago. And we have mentioned that before. Did he only resign because he's from Chicago? And I think in terms of how the fans look at it, that's probably how it is. But in terms of how the management look at it, he was their draft pick. He was their diamond in the rough. They're not going to give up on him just like that, No. I mean, statistically, he wasn't any worse really than his first year, but he just didn't stand out in the way that he did in that first year. And I think he just needs to work out what sort of a guard he actually is. That's the big thing. Is he somebody who's going to concentrate on the D, or is he somebody that's going to be an offensive threat? Because we've seen games where he can do it, particularly in Boston. He seemed to like playing Boston.
Yeah.
Where every three he took was falling, he was getting to the rim. We've seen what he can do with a block on KD. Was it he blocked?
Yeah.
So we've seen what he can do.
Was it Giannis? Was it?
It was Giannis that blocked him, but it was actually a foul, but it didn't go down as a foul.
Oh, you're right.
But then he got the block on KD. It was when he played Nets, because we didn't play Suns when KD was there, did we?
Yeah.
So we've seen that he can do it. We've seen how he locks up somebody like Trae Young.
Your guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of, well, I'll let you say about Ayo first before I give my expectations prediction.
Yeah, see, Ayo, is a real split, dividing type player at the moment, because we had first year Ayo and we had second year Ayo, and they're both quite different animals, even though, like you say, statistically, they were almost the same. But watching him play, there was something missing in second year Ayo compared to the first year. I don't know if it was the hunger that was missing, and that meant that everything else kind of dropped off a little bit. But he certainly seemed hungry, with a chip on his shoulder in first year, and that really suited the way he was playing. It was tangible, it was palpable, that chip on his shoulder, and it's something that I think everybody felt and loved him for it. Then he kind of came in the second year, and it was almost like he was like, "Oh, I'm part of the squad now, and this is all okay," and he lost the step. So what I'm hoping is he's now going to be PO'd again, like he was in first year, and come back in his third year and say, well, like you say, this is a prove it year for him. Even though he's got the contract, he still needs to prove his worth, and this is the season to do that. And I'm hoping that we do see a bounce back from Ayo. I mean, it doesn't need to become a top tier player straight away, but if we can just see a steady growth and improvement in him for this season, I'll be happy. But the problem and the issue is going to be that he's deep in the trees in the forest with finding a place for himself on the roster. There's an awful lot in front of him. As we know, we've talked about this extensively. That position, the 1-2 position, is very, very heavy, and he's going to have to prove his way in training and in the opportunities he gets on the floor. And if he can do that, then he very well could even find himself in a position where he's vying for the number one spot. Again.
Yeah, see, when I think of Ayo, I think, why did he fall so low in the draft?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I always think about, and it kind of, that first year that he had, people forgot that he was the 38th pick.
Mm-hmm.
You look at his second year and people go, I can see why he was the 38th pick. Why so many teams passed over him. Some teams passed over him twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It looked like a mistake, obviously, because he made, was it second all rookie?
Yeah, second.
When, so, that makes him essentially a top 10 pick, doesn't it? In that first year. That's where he should have gone, whatever, however you want to word it. So then it's hard to describe, because it wasn't a massive fall off. It was just, it looked like a second round pick last year at times.
Yeah.
Where
it was a fall from 10 to 38.
Yeah, essentially. And I think in terms of expectations, it's hard, isn't it? You just, because he's fallen that much now, if you're looking at, when we know he's a combo guard,
mm-hmm.
but everyone puts him into that one position.
Mm-hmm.
He's behind Javon Carter and Kobe White now. They're the two that are leading the way, and then you can probably throw Caruso in there as well.
You can, yeah, absolutely.
You can throw Caruso in anywhere and get the same result. But so he's potentially the fourth choice now for that and one. You could possibly say that Kobe comes in to replace Zach off the bench, or however you want to do it, but it'd still then be third choice, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as we've said, it is the odd man out now in this sort of 10-man rotation that you can see Billy using.
Yes.
And people forget Dalen Terry's still going to be there. He's still listed as a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Dalen Terry's not going to sit back and go, I'll just sit on the bench. Dalen Terry wants to play.
He does.
He's going to make it harder for Ayo as well. That's if they decide to play, obviously, Dalen at the point. So he's definitely got his work cut out for him. And one thing I do like is he's been pretty quiet this off-season in terms of what we're seeing from him.
Yeah.
Last year he had this monster off-season, didn't he, apparently? And, well, we saw the results.
Standard.
And as we keep saying, when people are putting all these comments on the workout videos. I want to see him doing this. I want to see him doing that. Why haven't we seen so and so? Blah blah blah. It's in an empty gym. You know that Ayo's away working. What he's working on, who knows? Everyone will say he needs to work on his three, because it doesn't matter which Bulls player it is that's working out. They have to work on his 3-point shot. So in terms of my expectations for him, I just want to see him get back into a position where he's fighting for not even a starting role, but where it's like, why ain't Ayo on the court? We need Ayo on the court just to be that solid on defense and offer a bit of a threat on the other end as well.
Right.
Basically, first year Ayo, where he's got to make Billy sit and go, this is why I'm not playing you, rather than I'm just not playing you because whatever. So, prediction-wise, personally, I see him getting a C. But I think when it goes to the vote, it'll be a low-end C, possibly a D. Because I see him as that odd man out. If that's where he is all year, then Bulls fans are just going to stay telling him that he's off to China, basically.
Yeah.
My personal prediction would be a C, but I think he'll end up with a C minus, D plus.
Yeah. Yeah. I really kind of had a struggle with this one as to what I was going to put on him. Thing is, if he comes out and he plays like he did in his first year, it's still not quite enough for me, because you want him to come out and play like he did in his first year, but you also want to see progression from that too.
Yeah.
Because if you don't see progression from that too, he's not going to get the minutes. And that's the quandary he's in. Unless he excels, he is third or fourth place to come off the bench.
Yeah.
At his position. And I think that's where he's kind of stuck. So unless for some reason he ends up getting a call up, which, most of the time is down to injury, which is what happened in his first year, which is why he got so many minutes, but then he did a good job once he was given those minutes. The problem with Ayo is, unless he gets that opportunity to prove himself, he may never really prove himself in the upcoming season. And that's the unfortunate position that he may find himself in. And for that reason, I'm actually going to sadly give him a D.
Ooh.
Just because I think it's kind of out of his hands a certain amount.
Yeah, like I say, I'm around the same, really. Maybe a little bit more optimistic, but
yeah. Like I say, I did go back and forth on it, and if he does get the opportunity, like say if there is an injury that gives him that opportunity and he gets extensive minutes that way, then he could very well play up to the standard that he needs to and increase that. But based on the fact that I'm hopefully not anticipating any serious injuries, that's why I went as low as I did.
Yeah, and to me, that's the thing. Like, you don't want him to get that place just because of an injury. You want him to get it because he's earned it. And that's essentially what he's going to have to do, isn't it?
It is.
Big ask. Hopefully he can do it. It's like we've said when we re-signed him, we wouldn't have been particularly bothered if he'd have gone. And we're not particularly bothered that he's back. But he is back. He's going to have Bulls on the front of his jersey. And that's all that matters. We'll support him. And that's it, If he plays bad, we'll say he plays bad. If he plays good, we'll say he plays good. Simple as.
Bald-headed menace lives on. Bulls on the front of his jersey. Falls across his chest.
On that note, I'll send it to the ad read. And now, obviously, we've announced our partnership with USA Sports. USA Sports is a UK-based sports merchandise retailer. That was hard to get out. They cover the NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, and Formula One. From hats to hoodies, there's something for fans, for everyone. from Chicago Bulls to Team Red Bull and everywhere in between. So check them out on all the socials and at usasports.co.uk. And at the minute, they are still running 20% off if you go on their site. There is a code on the site due to the start of the NFL season. So that is usasports.co.uk.
Very good.
Now, the next player on our list is another one that splits opinion, and it is Andre Drummond. We spoke quite a bit about him on Friday with Big Dave.
We did.
And we know that Big Dave is positive about everything, including the negative.
Yep.
And I think basically how he describes Drummond, it's fair, and it's kind of like how I describe him as well. You either love him or you hate him. And I think really Bulls Nation loves him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot are saying, why didn't he play more games last year? Why didn't he do that? Why ain't Billy using him? Why blah blah blah. And then something else that Big Dave brought up, he'd become a journeyman.
Yeah.
Obviously he'd gone from Pistons to, was it Cleveland, to Lakers, to Nets, to Sixers, and then found himself in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which is why everybody thought he was 37 and not just turned 30. And I think it was Mo that commented on the YouTube from the Big Dave one, and he said, obviously the mental health problems maybe were there earlier. They just come out, obviously when they come out. And when you think that all that moving around, he's gone from being an all-star with the Pistons, where he was, their main guy. He was putting up massive amount of rebounds in single games and stuff like that, breaking all these different records, and to becoming, well, he even mentioned it in that video that went round, didn't he, where to a load of kids, I've gone from being that guy to earning a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
He said it can be good just like that sort of thing. And there's still a decent player there, isn't there?
I think so. Yeah.
Some people say it's a style of play that's outdated, and the amount of rebounds he gets is because he misses his own shot half of the time and rebounds it.
Yeah, well, that might be a fair point.
But it's like I said, whether he's playing good or whether he's playing bad, he's entertaining.
Yeah.
I won the Shaq in a Fool MVP or whatever the award was that Shaq gives out, because of the amount of chaos that basically ensues when he's on the court. And yeah, you want to watch winning basketball, but you want to watch entertaining basketball. And to me, there's nothing better than watching a 7-foot guy or whatever size he is, man mountain, stealing the ball, Euro stepping his way through the defense, and then whatever happens, it's just And if he rebounds his miss, then he rebounds his miss. Simple as. But I'd rather watch that than a boring, just a 7-foot guy that catches it and throws it. Do you know what I mean? It's just, he was my vote for the unsung hero last year, because I thought, like, what he would have brought is that ability for Vooch to rest. And obviously, well, we saw that at the start of the year when he was with Goran. We saw Drummond, getting on the end of them lobs and stuff like that, and it was fun basketball to watch. And then he got the injury, fell out of favour, ran over Billy's dog, whatever it was he did, but Bulls fans still wanted him. That was the thing, and I think that's probably why he decided to take that second-year option, because he felt wanted somewhere. He'd been a journeyman. He'd gone from, like you said, Pistons to Cleveland to Lakers to blah blah blah, and he finally found home, a new home, basically. He's just over the weekend. It's that time of year again, returning to Chicago. Blah blah blah. You've seen all the boxes packed up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's looking in good shape as well. When you look at the photos, I mean, I'd post topless photos as well if I look like that, to be fair. But whether people want to see it or not, I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, you know, just got this horrible image now of Drummond's body and your head stuck at the top of it. No offense.
Shout out Gary with Photoshops.
Yeah, I'm sure Gary will Photoshop that one. Yeah, cheers, Gary.
But yeah, I'll let you talk about Dre before.
Yeah, it's no secret that I love to embrace the chaos. I love Dre, and I just thought he was so underutilized by Billy. And now, whether that does or doesn't have anything to do with the mental anguish that he was dealing with at the time, we'll possibly never know. Same way as we'll never know whether or not him being a journeyman and going from what he considered to be a really successful position to a less successful position within the NBA, whether that did or didn't play a part in what he was dealing with mentally, we'll probably never know the answer to that either until he releases the book. But if that was part of his issue, I think it's wonderful that he's found a place where he feels like it's more homely and he feels more secure and more loved and more welcome than he has done over numerous years previously. Because I do think that the majority of Bulls Nation enjoy watching him, enjoy what he brings. And it's all about, like we were saying this all through the season last year, it's all about Billy knowing when it's time to sit him down so that he can settle. But that doesn't mean you have to sit him for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Sit him down, let him settle, let him get the adrenaline down a little bit again, then put him back in again. Dre is that kind of player that brings you a big amount in a short period of time. So you put him in injections, little spurts. And I think if he's utilized correctly that way, then he is going to be an absolutely fantastic backup to Vooch, because everything about his game is different to everything about Vooch's game. They both play the same position and play it entirely differently. And to me, that is a good thing. It's a good way to unsettle the opposition, and it's a good way to bring you different angles to the game. When you're lacking maybe somebody who's going to go in and ruffle a few feathers, you put in Dre. When you want somebody who's a little bit more stoic and centered, you put in Vooch. And I think if the two of them are utilized correctly by Billy, that's quite a winning combination there.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just looking then because I was just interested to see how many games he actually played last season. And he actually played 67 games, which, when you think, we was like, why ain't he playing? It seemed like you were saying that every game.
It did.
But he's only missed, 15 games there?
Yeah.
Throughout the season. Obviously, he went out with that shoulder injury early on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's 67 games. That's the most he's played for anyone apart from Pistons in a season.
Oh, wow.
So...
Interesting stat. Didn't know that.
The last time he played more than that was... Well, like I say, for Pistons, he played 79 in his last year there. No, he didn't. He played 49 in his last year there, and then sort of moved around. And he did get up to 73 games in 21-22, but that was split between Cleveland, Lakers, and wherever else. Quickly looking at them. And that's what I mean. Does he feel home now in Chicago?
I'd like to think so.
The most games played. And like we've just said, Bulls fans love him. Or majority of Bulls fans love him, should we say. And yeah, he's only just turned 30. And he's on a 3.2 million or whatever he's on this year. He knows he can earn more than that.
Yeah.
And he's gonna want to earn more than that. Whether it's in Chicago or he gets a move elsewhere at the end of next year, whatever. But as long as he is trying to earn that money, earn that contract in his Chicago jersey, you're going to get good Dre. You're going to get a double-double within 15 minutes off the bench, whatever it is. You're going to get, well, he's the greatest rebounder in the NBA, isn't he? You know, and I think, yeah, people will take the mick out of everything what he's saying about becoming a Hall of Famer, becoming, you know, the greatest rebounder and stuff like that. But to me, that says he's in a good headspace when he's coming out like that. He's feeling confident. He's feeling confident in his, you know, the shape he's in. He's played in the Miami Pro League or whatever through the off season. He's, you know, he's looking good. He's feeling good, and obviously he's feeling good in himself. Mm-hmm. And I think he's not gonna get back to Pistons version of Drummond, but he's gonna get back to, well, he's gonna make Billy have to play him, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and expectation wise, well, I expect him to do that. I expect him to basically make Billy have to play. There's not going to be a time where, well, we haven't got DJJ anymore. You know, it's not going to be, right, Dre, take a seat, we're putting Julian Phillips out there. Take a seat, we're putting Torrey Craig out there. You know, we're going to have to play two big men, you know, or stagger the two big men.
Yeah, rotate them.
Yeah, how it should be. And, you know, we know what happens when he's looking good, he's feeling good and stuff like that. We saw it. So prediction-wise, I'm going to give him a B.
Ooh.
Just as long as he meets that expectation.
I did not expect you to go there, because that's where I was going to go. I did not expect you to go there. Right, go on. I need to go. Go on.
Yeah, that's it. If he meets that expectations, what I've got for him, then I think he's a B, because he's got the rest of Bulls Nation interested then. So when it comes to the vote as well, I mean, I think he actually finished second in the vote for Unsung Hero last year.
Yeah, he did.
Bulls fans already know what he's capable of, and they want him out there. And as long as we see him out there, you know, I'd say he's going to be in contention for a few of our little awards that we like to dish out, to be fair. And like I say, I think he'll be a solid B as well.
Yeah, I was thinking B minus. Yeah, and do you know what? I'm going to jump on that wagon with you. I'm going to go B too.
So that's the train we're driving this year.
It is. That's the one we are. Absolutely. We're both in there stoking the fire together this time.
So obviously the last one for tonight, and we've spoke about him enough recently, so it's only going to be quick.
Yeah.
Carlik Jones. Like we always say, nothing against him. He's clearly talented to a degree. Hope he has a decent career. Just can't see it being with Bulls. Just purely because whose minutes is he taking?
Yeah.
You know, and when you get Bulls Nation saying he's got to play, look at him, he's G League MVP, he won 3 Player of the Games in the FIBA World Cup. He got South Sudan to the Olympics next year, blah, blah, blah. That's all well and good. But whose minutes do you want him to take? Do you want him to take Javon Carter's minutes? No. Do you want him to take Kobe's minutes? No. Do you want to take Ayo's minutes? No, because you want Ayo to be better than him.
Right.
You know, do you want him to stop Dale and Terry getting minutes? No, because you want Dale and Terry to become that guy, that next guy. Do you know what I mean? And I feel a bit sorry for him, really, you know, because to make that step up from the G League to try and to, you know, if we weren't so stacked in the guard room, then yeah, you'd say throw him out there as your third choice or something like that. But
yeah,
unfortunately, we just don't have the room for him.
No.
And as I said at the start, he's not guaranteed and fully guaranteed until January. Sit him on the bench until January. Waive him, bring Javonte Green in when he's fit.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see it happen a bit sooner than January, to be fair. But
well, I suppose it could do if Javonte kind of comes back healthy quicker.
I mean, mainly, it's not a knock on Carlik. It's just because it gives him a chance to go find somewhere else as well.
Right. This isn't the right place for him to grow.
No. And yeah, he might want to go out there and prove it. He might want to prove that it's where he belongs. But ultimately, he's going to end up getting splinters. So
yeah. See, I mean, I can understand where Bulls Nation kind of get caught up in the whirlwind of it all. You know, like you say, G League MVP, had a very good campaign in the FIBA World Cup. I mean, an excellent campaign in the FIBA World Cup. There's no denying that the guy is talented, and there's no denying that the guy can score. And what are the Bulls lacking? Scoring. So you can understand how people are like, well, Carlik is the answer. Well, you've got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to take a step back from it all. And when you do take that step back and look at it, like you say, he's competing against an awful lot. And he's competing against an awful lot of other players that you don't want to see dropped minutes in order for him to gain minutes. This just isn't the right system for him right now. And I don't want to see the poor guy who's off the back of a great G League season, off the back of a great summer with his country, to then have to go and sit on a bench and do nothing for 2 or 3 months. He'd be better off if somebody else picked him up. But, you know, like you say, the most likely scenario, I think the most likely thing to play out is they let him go as far as January, and then they come up with some sort of a new plan to replace him. And I think you could very well have hit the nail on the head with Javonte, which we talked about earlier on.
Yeah. So in terms of expectations, that's it. I expect him to go through training camp, go through pre-season, possibly get a bit of minutes in pre-season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
More so like the later games where we're not trying to build other players up and stuff like that, and see systems work, rotations work, and stuff like that. Maybe see him a little bit of garbage time, and then I think we see him go. Like I say, personally, I'd like to see him go before the season, just so that for his own sake, really, so he finds somewhere else.
I agree. I don't think it's going to happen though, but I agree.
And it might come back to bite us in the ass. You know, he might go on to become another Max Strus or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
He's the kind of player who, if they were playing, if whatever team he goes to is playing the Bulls, you can imagine him having an excellent game.
Bulls. Yeah, he'll be a Bulls killer.
Yeah,
but
buzzer beater or something like that.
Yeah,
you can just see it.
In terms of prediction, grade wise, I'm going to say he's ungraded because I
was going to say the same. Yeah, ungraded.
He's not going to be on the roster at the end of the season.
No,
so he won't come into the list that we're giving out.
Yeah.
So to finish the episode, as we have been last few, Bulls trivia. Obviously, we managed to catch Big Dave out with them. With a question. And then we answered or asked some questions at the end of that episode as well. And mine was, which Bulls point guard holds the franchise record for most assists in a single game with 24? And the options were Kirk Heinrich, D. Rose, Norm Van Leer, and Guy Rogers. Now, Clem, I believe, was the first one to answer on Twitter. Yeah. Troy, standard, answered when he caught up after the weekend. Mm-hmm. And the answer was Guy Rogers.
Yep. And I can't remember what my question was.
No, I can't.
That's good, isn't it?
I know that it was answered by Clem. Oh, who did the draft in?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And the answer was Olden Polynice, who they then subsequently traded with Seattle for one Scottie Pippen.
Yes. quick side note on Scottie Pippen, DeMar DeRozan wearing the up-tempos in a workout.
Yeah. I used to have a pair of the up-tempos, and I loved them.
Yeah, I keep saying to the missus about getting some now, and she says, you're not wearing them because you look special. So
Okay. I don't even know how to comment on that.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways I could go with that, and I'm just going to behave myself and say nothing.
I mean, if Maria's listening, our fashion expert, then maybe she can drop in the comments whether she
True.
likes them.
That's true. Yeah.
Whether I would look special in them. So moving on, my question for this one is, who is the only Bulls centre to ever record a triple-double consisting of points, rebounds and blocks? And the options are Artis Gilmore, Paul Gasol, Ben Wallace or Joakim Noah.
Very good. And my question for this episode is, which 3 Western Conference teams did the Bulls defeat during their first three-peat?
So there you go. I'm sure, because Troy's in the future, he's probably already answered them. And yeah, this is probably going to be the only episode we drop this week, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm on nights this week, so I'm kind of busy.
Yeah, we've got our Fantasy League draft on Wednesday.
We do.
We'll be by video. I want my title back, so rules will be bent and twisted.
Standard.
Because I need to get that world champ back. So, but no, thanks for listening as usual. Like I say, drop anything in the comments, whether on here, Twitter, wherever. Answer the trivia questions. Don't matter if you already see the answers out there. Just answer them. You know, you might answer them different.
Yep.
Who knows? And yeah, until next time, I've been Matt, and you can find me on Twitter at MattCRedUK, and you can find us on all the socials at CRedUK.
And you can find me on Twitter at NeilCRedUK. On behalf of us both and the Fans First Sports Network, thanks once again to everyone for tuning in. Whether you're watching or listening, please subscribe, rate and review, and give us a thumbs up on YouTube. From Matt and myself, remember, it's the Chicago Bulls thing wherever you are in the world. Until next time, see red, people.